Our latest poll results came in, and there's some really bad news for Democrats. Let's take a look. The GOP leads in the generic ballot by 7 points as of last Friday, the 14th, and they have an 8-point lead in voter enthusiasm. We'll have to wait and see if those leads hold, but here's another indicator that things aren't looking great for Democrat majorities after next month's midterms. How likely is it that Republicans will win control of the House of Representatives in the upcoming elections? 67%, or a full 2/3 of all likely voters, say at least somewhat likely, and 38% say very likely. Only 17% of voters say it's not likely, and 5% say not at all likely. Let me say that again. Only 5% of likely voters say that it is not at all likely that Republicans will win control of the House. This is a different kind of question than our other midterm indicators because we're asking voters to make their own judgment on the race outcomes. Now, is this a surprising result? Perhaps. If you look at Real Clear Politics, the recent Republican lead has been pretty stark both before and after this little period here in July and August. But most voters probably aren't looking at Real Clear Politics in big enough numbers. What about 538? Probably not there either. 538 had a slight Republican lead up until August, but actually has Democrats in the lead now. So what about their cable or online news providers? I've personally sworn off cable news, but as recently as last week, there were adequate enough polls with Democrat leads that if you were a sleazy corporate media outfit, you could pick whatever results you wanted to support your narrative. What do I think is going on? I think there is a lot of economic pain and disillusionment with government and institutions right now, such that the voters have a palpable and subconscious feel for where the true momentum lies. And of course, our time-tested and accurate polling supports a Republican lead. But what about party breakdowns? 86% of Republicans think they're gaining the House, including 64% who say it's very likely. Only 2% of Republicans say it's not at all likely. But 59% of independents also think the GOP is gaining the House, including 30% who say that's very likely. And only 4% of them say it's not at all likely. But what about Democrats? A majority, 56%, think Republicans are going to gain the House, though only 19% think it's very likely. Only 29% of them think it isn't likely that the GOP will take the House, and only 8% of Democrats say it's not at all likely. Headline alert, only 8% of Democrats say it's not at all likely the Republicans are taking the House. But what about the Senate? People think the Senate is a little tougher road to hoe, but 58% still see the GOP gaining majority. Only a quarter think it isn't likely, and only 6% say not at all likely. 80% of Republicans say it's likely, but also 54% of independents and 42% of Democrats. Again, the numbers who say not likely are low. The biggest are among Democrats, with 42% saying Republican control of the Senate isn't likely, but only 11% of Democrats say it's not at all likely. So why should we trust voters on what they think the outcome is going to be? Well, for one thing, it's a huge indicator of potential turnout. Demoralized voters, ones who think they aren't going to win, are presumably less likely to turn out. And that paints even more momentum for the GOP than our voter enthusiasm questions. But we actually have a historical precedent for this as well. Democrats gained seats in the House in 2018, and back then, 56% of voters thought Democrats would win control of the House. They were right. Since this year's expectations for the GOP are even higher than the Democrats were then, does that mean the GOP is going to win more seats than the Democrats did in 2018? Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment if you have any poll ideas.